You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell. Sponsored by Absolute Mortgage, a division of Pinnacle Capital Mortgage Corporation. Now, in the studio, local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome back to The Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, right here at 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, March 19th show. I bring into studio each week the best of the best experts in all areas regarding your money right here in our local market. If you're hearing my show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast. But to talk with any of the guests that I have in studio, if you want to chat with me, feel free to call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. And first time in studio, I get to have a chance to have a conversation with Tony Sablan with New York Life Eagle Strategies, and we're going to talk about financial planning success. Tony, thank you for coming in and joining me in studio.
Tina, thanks for having me on the show.
Of course. Little backing on Tony. Tony is a wealth advisor with Eagle Strategies, LLC. He is also the founder of the Ultimate Wealth Strategies based in Bellevue, Washington. Tony works with individual families and business owners to identify that what motivates them, what keeps them up at night, and then focuses on financial solutions that help them make their goals reality. He not only relies on his own knowledge and expertise, but also an experience of his team experts and specialists. His mission is to develop enduring relationships with his clients by providing expert guidance pertaining to life insurance strategies, investment, and upgrading people's financial plans. And very excited, Tony. He's also soon to be an author for financial planning book coming out the fourth quarter of this year. So that's very exciting. So, Tony, let's go ahead and start out with providing a little bit about who you are. Share that with my listeners.
So,
who are you, Tony?
Well, I'm a wealth advisor at Eagle Strategies, and like you mentioned earlier, helping people with their financial plan. Mm-hmm. I'm also the Executive VP of Business Development for the Association of Latino Professionals for America. It's the oldest and largest professional nonprofit Latino organization in the U.S., and, we help build Latino leaders. And when I'm not doing professional work in my spare time, it's kind of crazy. I coach at the oldest mixed martial arts gym in the U.S., which is actually in downtown Kirkland. It's called AMC Pancration, and where the current UFC champ, Demetrius Johnson, trains out of.
Oh, wow. How exciting.
Yeah. So he actually has a fight coming up in April, and I'm kind of his punching bag.
Oh, no, that doesn't sound like too much fun. You look pretty good today. It doesn't look like he's punched you around too much.
Right.
So what do you do with Eagle Strategies?
So I help folks, individuals, families, business owners with regards to their tax efficient and investment saving strategies. And so oftentimes people have an offensive plan for saving. Seldom do they have a defense. So I help folks, see if they can retire sooner than they otherwise might. Invest more confidently and enjoy greater peace of mind with their money. And also, we take a look at what their individual human capital worth is.
Okay. So with a listener right now would be asking about today what they need to know about their finances, how would you answer that, Tony?
So it doesn't matter what your circumstances are, especially with respect to women these days. That's kind of like where the wealth is transferring to. Women need to be students of their finances. And the most important reason why, in my opinion, is because women are living longer. The marital statuses are changing in later years. And also the money you save can determine the quality of lives we live as we age. Just a few statistics here. So women 65 and older have 26% less income than men. Women are especially likely to fall into poverty when they no longer have a spouse. Also, in 2000, of women from age 55 to 64, it was 53% in the workforce. That number has since climbed in 2015 to 59%. And these are single women.
Okay.
So they're working longer, retiring later, and having to save more as well.
That doesn't sound like fun.
All right. So if you're a female listener out there, have a plan.
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
So let's get our finances, I'll get them together. So what kind of financial planning do you do, Tony?
So earlier I mentioned offensive and defensive planning. So if you think about, what won the Super Bowl this year and also when the Seahawks won, it was defense, right? So I would take a look at a client's portfolio and ask them, what in your portfolio is protecting your investments? Because you can have a strong offense, but if you can't keep the lead, then your investments are likely to go down.
So a lot of listeners probably have a 401k. Most people do. What would you say on that as far as 401k and having that as your retirement?
So I say the first rule of any retirement strategy is take the free money.
Yes.
So
if your company is participating, and yes.
So your company is participating, take the match. And companies around the area are providing a great benefit to their employees. But also one thing to remember is when you are contributing to your 401k, have a goal. What's the end game, right? Or, you could be automatically saving 3% to meet your company's match, or whether it's 6%. But try and spend some time to think about what the end game is. Like, I want X amount of dollars in retirement, and the reason why I'm contributing this amount of money today is because I want X amount of dollars later down the road.
Yes. And I think it's important when you're doing that to really understand what things are going to cost. And so and that's why having a financial planner is so important, to really lay that out for you. What are your goals and what are those costs going to be at that time? And just ask yourself the question, would you work in a job to where you're not going to be receiving any type of income from today on? Because you really have to consider that, because things are going to continue to go up. So you need to make sure your money is as well. So what else should people do to save money or to accumulate assets for their retirement?
So typically people have 401ks, IRAs, and savings accounts. But seldom do we think about earning more money, right? We often talk about saving, investing. Yeah, but how do we get a raise? How do you
Hey, that's just what I said. I was reading your mind there. Go ahead, Tony. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so, how can I make myself more marketable to my employer? How do I make more money in the business? Do I get a side job? Think about how much that extra dollar would do for your retirement.
So what about saving for other things than just retirement?
It all starts with a goal.
Okay.
Right? So if you're saving up for a boat, for that dream home you've always wanted, you got to work the numbers backwards. Right? So have a goal and then set a plan.
And I think, I always say it's important to, when you're talking about budgeting, you should always be saving for something, so always have something that you want, because when you're saving for something, you will always be less apt to spend money.
Right.
So it doesn't matter what you're saving for, as long as it does. It matters that you're saving for something that you really want, but it doesn't matter if you're saving for that new purse, women out there, or if you're saving for that big boat or that first home. It's just something that you really want. If you want to save for that upgrade purchase for the family, but you'll be apt to spend less money as long as you're saving for something. So everyone focuses on retirement planning, but what about the defensive side, as you probably would say, of the financial planning?
So I'll ask people what is in their plan to protect their wealth. And whether you are single or have a family, you should have some form of protection. And that protection could be home insurance, auto insurance, life insurance, health insurance. Because all those investments, the house, the boat, the car, don't mean anything if you're not around to produce the income to make those payments.
Yes.
Right? So what's in your portfolio to protect the income and your assets? And then also, we do protect our cars, our home, but seldom do we have life insurance. And in America, there's a shortage, or there's a huge underinsured population. And that could mean because of affordability, but it also could be because of just for a lack of education. So working with your advisor or life insurance agent, just ask about life insurance.
And I think it's important. I'm glad that you brought that up in really determining what options that you have as far as life insurance, because there's so many different avenues that you can go. And, just like a loan program for me in mortgage, there's a lot of different programs, and all of the programs have something that is good and something that's not so good. It's just depending on what person it's for. So really looking at your options and running those numbers and strategizing on what your plan is. And that's really what it's about. And having a financial planner is strategizing and planning for your future as strategically as possible. So when your clients come to you and they're asking for, what stock should they purchase? How are you answering that? What do we buy?
I usually get,
no tip today, right, Tony?
Right, no tips.
Yeah, I know. Can't help but ask it. But what are you saying when a client comes to you and says, hey, what stock should I buy?
So I usually ask them, what's your goal with the money? And why are you trying to invest in stocks? What's your time horizon, right? Because with stocks these days, you might get lucky, the stock will pop 30, 40%. But the next day, it might go down as well. So you got to ask yourself, what's your time horizon? Why are you investing in this stock? And, when do you need this money?
So, Tony, got another minute, and I'm going to take us to commercial here, but I'd like to wrap up our conversation for a takeaway for my listener. So what are you hoping that they take away from our conversation today?
So the main thing I'd like the listeners to have is a plan for your money.
Okay.
And keep a budget, improve yourself at work, make yourself more marketable. But when you have a plan for your money, you want a defensive plan and an offensive plan. How do you protect the lead?
So just like you're out there on the football field, make sure you have the defense and the offense. Yep. Tony, thank you so much for joining me in studio. It was great having a conversation about finances and financial planning.
Thank you, Tina.
Coming up next in the Money Hour, what do you need to know about estate planning and taxes? Anton Cawthorn with Reed Longyear Law Group right here at 1150 AM KKNW after this short break.